Fantastic. We're gonna dive into some details about the 75 hard. I know we have a lot of people who couldn't make it today, but I wanted to do it today just because this weekend is for family and they kind of take over my life. But guys, everybody who's watching this on the replay, Sarah, I am super pumped about the 75 hard. I'm going to break down a little bit about how it works, give you some ideas of how the app works. I'll take you through some of the different things that I have set up for you guys, and really just like break down how you can literally use this program to create that mental toughness. Is kind of what Andy Frisella kind of like has designed this program around. It's kind of like one of those things where it's a tough physical challenge, but it's also a tough mental challenge. And that mental challenge is things that you can pull over into other areas of your life. And I remember following this the first time. I did this about, I think it was 2 years ago. And yes, I felt amazing. I have gotten into incredible shape, but the things that it was able to create for me in my business at the time, I was just kind of getting started off as a life coach. It really helped bring some of that mental toughness, some of that, hey, I'm going to do it anyway, even though I feel the discomfort. It helped me transition it over here, because when you're physically like able to take control of certain things that maybe you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do 2 workouts and have this structure and not cheat. You realize that it actually creates this level of confidence in you that you can carry out in multiple different areas. And that's really what I want to dive into today. So this call is probably going to be like 20, 25 minutes. And at the end, if anybody, or if you have questions, Sarah, there's probably a few other people who pop in. Just let me know, shoot them in the chat function, and we'll kind of go from there. All right. So the one thing that I want to talk about, and Sarah knows this because she is a life coach as well, but the one thing that when it comes to the 75 hard that you're going to have to get grips with is the facts don't dictate whether you are going to be successful or not. Now, some of you guys who are in my life coach certification, push coach certification school, you understand what I mean by the facts. And what I mean is like the outside things, the things that happen on the outside, how much work you have, the fact that you have a family, the fact that you have a business, the fact that it's raining, that it's snowing outside, like all of those kind of things are not connected to whether or not you can succeed. When you are able to disconnect those things and realize the outside facts are not the things that actually can get you to show up, it's actually the inside things that will get you to show up. And if something happens outside, you've just got to find a more creative way of making it so that you can continue to show up. All right. So one of the things you're going to hear me talk about a lot is that when you go through this process of identifying this 75 hard and what this is going to look like, you may kind of feel like, oh, well, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this or to do that, or like, really, how am I going to be able to implement this? And that's kind of the pushback that our brain kind of has, is it wants to keep us stuck. It wants to keep us comfortable. It wants to keep us where we're at. And so whenever you have that, I really want you to just go, oh, okay, this is one of those facts that Mark was talking about that is actually not going to be able to keep me from being successful. Only I can decide if that's going to happen or not. Okay. Now, a little bit of insight. Let me just take you through a little bit of insight into the app real quick. I'm going to actually share my screen. And then after this, I want to show you, number one, some of the resources you have, and then I'm going to walk through the 5 different rules when it comes to the 75 hard to make sure that you complete the challenge. Right. So if you come into the app, or you're on your computer, because you can get into the computer, or you can get in through your computer, or you can get in through your phone, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click on the squad rooms. When you click on the squad rooms, it's going to take you to all our squad rooms. Now, if you're on an iPhone, what will typically happen, and this probably happened with you, Sarah, is you won't be able to see that you can join one of these squad rooms, because Apple does this weird thing where they want to charge you 3 or 4 times the time, or 3 or 4 times as much as what the group says. And I say, no, I don't want them to do that. So what they do is they prevent you from actually being able to sign up there. What you do is you go onto a computer and you type in tacticalaccountability.com. And when you go there, you just log in, and then from your browser on your phone, or even the browser on your computer, you can actually go in and see what you're about to see right now. Okay. So if you pop into the 75 hard room right here, 75 hard squad room, what you'll see is you'll see this is the news feed. This is really where we have conversations, where we're going to be sharing, where we're going to be talking about how everybody's doing. We're going to be checking in, all of those kind of things. Now, this news feed is for you. I will pop in here and I will share some different things, but I really want the people in this group to take a leadership role and get in there, post, let us know how things are going, because that is the way that we start great conversations. All right. Now, if you see here on the top, there's a couple different posts that are pinned up here to the top. Number one is like a little start here button where it's going to share what I'm about to go over in terms of the structure so you can see it in writing. This 75 hard live call, you're actually watching this now, so you might even be in the app right there. And then we have our podcast, Master Your Mindset with Coach Mark. Those are 3 things that I pinned to the top so that you can have really quick access to them. But if you go to the 3 lines, if you're on the app, or just go to the left-hand side and you look at 75 hard resources, you're going to see a couple different resources, okay? I talk a little bit about the 75 hard. I share the replay, this call again in here. I give you free access to my book. So what I decided to do as a part of this challenge is you have to read 10 pages of a personal development or business development book every single day, 10 pages minimum. One of the ways that I want to make sure that people can get started is by having my book there. So that way, if you don't have a book that you want to get started on right now, that you have a way of just jumping in and just starting to read 10 pages. My book, the way that it's laid out, 10 pages will go by quick. You're going to find some books are going to be like super, like very, the font is going to be super small. And guess what? You still have to read 10 pages. So you might want to take that into consideration, which is another reason why I put my book here so that you can read it if you want. The next is what's called the 75 hard tracker. If you want to actually keep track of this in a centralized location, if you want to work together with an accountability partner, which I'll share with you in a minute, and you want to see where their progress is, you can click on this and it'll take you to a tracker that I've designed for you guys so that you can actually put in the activities that you're taking throughout the week. And then I talk a little bit about how to dive into the activity feed. So basically, here's all the details and everything that you know about the 75 hard. And then, of course, if you ever have any questions, you pop into the activity feed, you ask a question about it, and we kind of jump in from there. Okay. Now, I want to kind of like open up with accountability partners, and then we'll go down the 5 different rules that are followed when you do the 75 hard. Okay. So first off, accountability partners. So if you want an accountability partner, what I suggest you do is you pop into the activity feed and you write in here, hey, I'm doing the 75 hard. This is when I'm starting. Who needs an accountability partner or even a small accountability team? And find that team that will keep you, that you'll stay connected with so that you guys can complete this together. Accountability teams are super important because I'm not going to be reaching out to you guys every single day to find out whether or not you're working out, whether or not you're doing your program, whether or not you fell off and you're going to jump back in, whatever that thing is. I want you to find somebody else in the group if you need an accountability partner to do that with. And I would highly suggest it. All right. So find people who are either in accountability groups or accountability teams. So that way you can dive in and really get some help along the way. Okay. And then, of course, you can always just come in here and ask for support, ask some questions, and you will have people who are going to be able to help you out. Now, we have over 300 people in the 75 Hard Squad room. Not all of them are going to be doing it, but there's a lot of them who have completed the entire program. And if you want to get their feedback and their input, come in here and know that there's going to be at least 300 people who are going to see your stuff, who are going to be able to share maybe some resources, maybe some ways that they were able to succeed. Okay. Now, that being said, let's break down the rules. All right. Let's break down the rules. I'm going to turn this stop sharing off. Okay. Let's break down the rules. All right. Rule number 1 is you follow a diet designed for performance. Now, hear me out on this one. People hear the word diet and they kind of freak out, but I want to let you know that we're all eating a diet. I mean, what I mean by diet is like a meal, a food, like food that you're eating, like really setting the tone for this is what my plan looks like. All right. So you can follow things like, I know a lot of us have dived into Team Beachbody. You can follow the containers. You can follow like whether it's Portion Fix, you can follow To Be Mindset. You can just follow, hey, you know what? I'm just going to eat all whole foods. You can count your calories. You can do whatever you want. But the real thing here is you want to set this up in the beginning, meaning you want to answer any questions that you possibly could have, because in the moment when you're on day 10 or 11 or 12 and you're like, well, should I eat this or this? If you're like, well, I don't know if this is something that's on my plan or not, then you haven't pre-planned it enough. So really sitting down and going, okay, this is the diet that I'm going to follow. and then having that structure somewhere so that you know that you're following it or not. Now, when it comes to a diet, when it comes to like whatever you choose for your performance, that also means no cheat meals, no alcohol, and no things outside of your plan. One of the things that tried to sneak in for me is like, I'm really like a cold brew enthusiast. And so what I notice is like, when I go through this, I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. I'll just drink this or I'll have this. But I had already predetermined that that was not going to be a part of my plan. I already had determined it on the moment I said, you know what, this is what my plan is going to look like. It's going to be looking like whole foods, nothing inside of a box, no like extra treats. One, sit down. I'm going to eat my meal. That's it. I don't get up. I don't get any seconds. In between meals, I don't eat. I only have 4 meals throughout the day. And then that's the structure that I'm going to follow. So if things try to come in, you got to remember, okay, no, this is the diet. This is the plan that I set forth. And if you write it out, it's actually super helpful to do that, right? So that's rule number 1, is you follow a diet, and this is for 75 days in a row. You have no cheat meals, no alcohol, and no things outside of your plan, all right? Rule number 2, 2 45-minute workouts a day. One of them must be outside. So this isn't so bad for me because I'm in California, but last year when we did this, we had some people who were literally out in snowstorms who were getting their walk in, because it's one of those things where it doesn't matter if the outside gives you the hint of like, hey, this isn't for me. You got to find a way of doing it. Now, that being said, you also want to make sure that you don't do things that aren't smart. Like, don't go out in the middle of a thunder and lightning storm, okay? Because you have to get your workout. Figure out a different way, figure out a different time. But the 2 45-minute workouts can be whatever you want for a workout. One of my workouts is going out with my kids every night, either Andrew, Alyssa, or Teresa, and going out for a 45-minute walk. That's my outside workout. It's just 45-minute walk. It's doing something that's like specifically, you're like, hey, this is my workout for today. What you can't do is you can't say, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna, I'll figure this out later. And then when you're doing things, maybe you do go outside, maybe you do something. And then after the fact, go, you know what? Yeah, I'll use that as my workout. You can't do that. You have to pre-plan it of like, okay, my workout is going to be when I'm in the garden. My workout is going to be yoga. My workout is going to be lifting weights. My workout, and you've got to pre-plan it so that you know before you do it that you're actually doing it. You can't say, oh, you know what? I did this extra workout earlier, so that counts. Now, one of the things that when it comes to 45-minute workouts, you can't just do a 90-minute workout. You got to separate it. You got to separate it by at least 3 hours. All right. So the second rule is 2 45-minute workouts a day. It could be whatever you want. Doesn't have to be weight training. Doesn't have to be anything like that. It could be anything that you pre-designate, and it has to be at least 3 hours in between. All right. There we go for that. Let's see. It can be walking, weights, running, whatever, but one of them must be outside. What people were doing last time is some of them had like a treadmill. Some of them had like one of those bikes. They literally just wheeled it outside and just did it outside. That counts. You're outside and you're exercising. That's all that matters, right? So just get really creative on how might I be able to, could be a walk of a dog, could be anything, but it has to be 45 minutes. And it can't be broken up like, hey, I'll do 20 minutes now and then 25 minutes later. It has to be all lumped up together. Remember the point of this to create this level of mental toughness is not the actual event is like the most difficult thing you've ever done, like the actual workout. No, it's a matter of, I said that this is what I'm going to do. These are the parameters and I'm not changing them. Like I'm not wavering. I'm not saying, you know what, I feel more comfortable if I could do this. Yeah, you would, but you won't be able to build that mental toughness if you're like literally changing it up as you go. Okay. So that is number 2. Number 3. This one for my coaches is going to be easy. It's read 10 pages a day of a personal growth or business related book. 10 pages. 10 pages, meaning, like I was saying earlier, if the words are big, if the words are small, doesn't matter. 10 pages. So keep track, count your 10. All right. This can't be an audiobook. It can be like on a Kindle. As long as you're reading the words, this counts. All right. And I talked to you that I have my free book. So if you guys want to grab that, you can definitely grab that. All right. All right. That's number 3. And it has to be personal development or business related. It can't be like Harry Potter or anything like that. You can read that, but it won't count towards it. All right. Number 4, drink 1 gallon of water per day. This is that one that I was like, what, 1 gallon? Like, it's not that bad for me, but when people are a lot more smaller in stature, and it may seem like, wow, this is a lot. So when it comes to drinking water, a couple of things. If you're doing 2 workouts a day, if you're getting in that kind of movement and you're out in the sun or you're just moving around a lot, your body does need a lot of water. All right. Getting used to and building up to that, you're going to find that the earlier that you do it in the day, the better. The earlier you get started, the better. You don't want to do this, which I failed a couple of times doing this, is like you wait until you're right about to go to bed. And then for some reason you got to drink like one of these whole things. And then you got to wake up like 6 times in the middle of the night. Right. So this is kind of one of those things that works itself out, right? It's like, okay, tomorrow I'm not going to do that again. But one of the ways that you can do this to keep track of your water is like looking at doing a breakdown of like how many ounces is in a gallon. I think it's 144. Let me look at it real quick. How many ounces in a gallon? 128. So 128 ounces. All right. So if like, let's say I have this, all right, this is, I don't know, it's like 48 ounces. So it would be 3 of these for the entire day. Find a way of keeping track of how many of these you're drinking. What some people did last time is they had a rubber band. And what they would do is they would put 3 rubber bands on here. And every time they drank one and filled it up, they take another one off. And then they take another one off. And then they have one rubber band. When they get finished, they're like, oh, okay, I'm finished drinking my water. So find a way of doing that. Some people also had this really big, like 1-gallon water jug. If that works for you, that works for you. But remember to keep track, right? You don't want to be like, oh my God, did I drink it? Did I have enough? So find different ways of doing that. You can even do it inside the app. I know some people use the BOD app. They can go in there and they can click the plus button for like some of the water and stuff they're drinking, and they can keep track of it. Okay. So number 4 is drink 1 gallon of water per day. This does not include like drinks in terms of like things that are not water. Like if you make lemonade, doesn't count. If you make iced tea, doesn't count. If you make whatever you're adding stuff to water besides just having water, it doesn't count. Now, for those of you guys who have like reverse osmosis or distilled water, you should add something into it, whether it's like pink Himalayan salt, something that will make sure that you don't like mess up your electrolytes. But if you have just normal water, you're totally good with that. Okay. And then I said, do it first thing in the morning. So that way you don't have to struggle with getting to sleep. All right. And day number 5. And can I just tell you, like, I've told you about some of these different rules so far, and they're all kind of difficult. The next one is going to seem so simple, but it's what people fail the most. Okay. It's what people fail the most. So you need to find a way not to fail this. Number 5 is you take a picture of yourself daily. You don't have to post this. You don't have to share it. Nobody needs to see it, but you need to take a picture every day. I'm going to say this again. People get to like day 50 or 60, and then they forget to take a picture because they either don't do it in the morning time, they get too busy, they forget, they think they did it all, they go to sleep, they wake up the next day and they go, I forgot to take my picture. Guess what happens? Day one again. So if you can find a way, whether it's putting it in your phone, Andrew Frisella has his own 75 Hard app. I actually downloaded it. It's like $4 or something like that. It literally has this thing. It's like, hey, you've got 1 hour. Where's your picture? Or where's your workout? Or what, you haven't checked in to make sure that you did this or you did this. And it's pretty cool how he kind of like put that app together. But also, like, as you get done and as you finish day 1, it has a pop-up that comes up that says 75 Hard, and it has like the day that you just completed and has a slash mark, and it has a picture of it, so you can take it and you can share it on social media. You can share it with anybody that you want to, and it fits perfectly into a story. Okay. So it's an awesome app, but also it will make sure that you take all of your pictures, or you're going to be back at day 1. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Some people are going to do that. They're going to miss something. They're going to have an emergency and they didn't do that thing beforehand. And they can't, they have this feeling that they can't take that action despite that emergency. I mean, I've had situations where like I've been I had to go to the doctor. I had all this, and I was like, okay, I guess my 45-minute workout is going to be walking around in the hospital for 45 minutes. And I remember I was doing push-ups on the floor on one of them. And my wife was like, this is a hospital floor. This is dirty and disgusting. I'm like, I got to get this workout. And it was like day 60 something. So you find creative ways of doing this. But even to that being said, people are going to fail. It's just the nature of the beast. It's just going to happen. And here's the thing. You have a decision to make. If you're going to continue, you're going to jump back up to day one, and you're going to let this be a learning experience or not. There's a couple of people I know, Kyle specifically, he got very far, and then same thing, something happened and he had to miss, I think it was a workout. And then the next day he's like, I'm back in it. And he went 75 days. But if you think about that, 75 plus like the 50 that he did before, that's like the 120-day hard challenge, right? And that is powerful. When you get to that point, you're like, wow, like I can do this. I can set my intention and actually stick with it. And then guess what happens? This rolls over into other areas. Then you're like, wow, like I'm not letting the outside control me over here. How about over here? How about in my business? How about in my career? How about with my family? It just like literally has this ripple effect. All right. So definitely, if you can, find an accountability partner and find a way of tracking these things so that you can make sure whether or not you've done it. All right. Now in the newsfeed, we did this last time and it worked out really, really well. So as you're coming in, as you're doing some of your different activities, as you're checking some of the boxes, you can come into the app, you can share it, you can do all that kind of stuff. What we don't want to see is we don't want to see like a million before and after pictures inside the app, because it just gets to be like this weird thing where people are just like showing their pictures and stuff every day. And some of you guys might be comfortable to do that or not comfortable to do that. If you do that once a week, I'm game with it, just as long as you're not doing it every single day. But I would highly suggest that you do come in there, make some kind of post, make something to show that you're still taking action. And I don't want you to do that for other people. I want you to do that for yourself, because every time you do that, think about how it feels when you're inspiring people, when you're taking the action, right? When you're doing those things. Let's see. Okay, when do we start? So when do we start? The answer is whenever you want. But I'm going to tell you when I'm going to start, and you guys can decide if you'd like to do that too. I'm starting on Monday. So Monday the 16th, that's going to be my first day of 75 hard. Number 2. Or number 3. So I've gone through 75 hard quite a few times. I went through what's called the Live Hard program, which is a 365 day. It's not every single day, but there's like little mini breaks inside. And I can tell you that this was a game changer, and I feel like I've gotten off track since then. So I wanted to dive back in. All right. So most of us are going to start on May 16th. If you want to start May 16th, you want to start some other time, that's totally cool. If you see this video and it's like 3, 4, 9 months from now, it doesn't matter. Pick somebody, make a post in the group, find somebody who is like, get them inside the app, and really just start whenever you want. There's no definitive days or times that you have to do this. Okay. So that is, I talked about that, talk about the tracker. The way that the tracker kind of works is it's just an Excel spreadsheet. It's actually in Google, what do you call that? Not Numbers. Google Forms. No, not Google Forms. It's basically the Excel version of Google. So you can go in there, you can see who's done what, if you can check a box in terms of when you do your workout, when you do this, when you do that. But what it also does is it's something that everybody else can see. And I know a lot of times when it comes to accountability, when you know that other people are in there and they're able to see it, it gets you to really show up. But if you have an accountability partner, you guys can see each other's sheet in there so that you can see where they're at and how they're doing that day so that you can continue to plug in. All right. And you absolutely don't need to do this with an accountability partner if that's something you don't want to do, or you can do it with somebody that, your significant other, or I'll share with you in a minute how I did it with my kids. But really it's about like you just doing what you can and will set you up for success. All right. Now, the last piece I'll talk about is doing it with kids. So last year I did this and it actually really worked out really, really well. Here's what I mean. So at the time my daughter was 10 and she was not ready to do 2 45-minute workouts and follow a nutrition plan and all those kind of things, right? But I did say, or I did ask myself, like, what is a different challenge that she could take that she would feel like, hey, this is my version of the 75 hard. And so I told her, I'm like, hey, Alyssa, here's what I'll do. I'm doing the 75 hard challenge. I would love it if you do it with me, but how about if we just pick 5 things that sometimes you have a hard time like really doing, but that if you did it and you consistently did it, not only would you feel amazing about it, but also like we can give you some kind of incentive. We can have like some kind of like, I think we gave, it was like $10 a week. every single week that you do these 5 activities, if we look at the end of the week and you do them all, you'll get $10 to do whatever you want. You can play, you can use it for Roblox or anything that you want to do. She's like, absolutely, let's do this. So for her, it was taking a shower on the first time she was asked without getting upset. It was waking up in the morning at 7 a.m. It was going to bed when it was time to go to bed so that she couldn't try and talk herself into another TV show. We got a journal for her. So the Best Self Code journal, the one that I use, they actually make one for kids. And so I got her that journal and I said, okay, you got a journal every day. And it's cool because it talks about it talks about gratitude. Like, who are you thankful for today? Did you tell them that you're thankful? Like, who's somebody that you did something nice for today? What's something nice you're going to do tomorrow? It's awesome. It like prompts them. So that was the 4th one. And the 5th one was that she had to do some kind of outside play for 20 minutes, which on school days is no problem. But on like a Saturday or a Sunday, we had to get creative, right? So we had to go, hey, let's get out and let's go play some soccer or something like that. You got to do your 75 hard. And these were 5 things. Number one, it made my life easier. Because when you have a daughter who takes a shower, no problem, wakes up at this time, goes to bed at this time, writes affirmations and writes down in her journal and gets outside for 20 minutes. I'm like, this is like a game changer. I'll pay her $10 for the rest of her life if she does this, right? And so I was able to use that. And not only that, it just felt like it wasn't just me doing it, because Teresa decided not to do it. And I kind of felt like, oh, okay, it's just me. I'll do it anyway. But at the same time, I would love it if somebody else would do it with me. And my daughter's like, I'll do it with you. And that's how we created it. So if you have somebody that you want to do the 75 hard and they're a kid, there's something like that, you can create whatever you want. That's their version of it. Okay. It's their version of it. So that way you can have even more buy-in. Because here's the thing, like, I can't tell you, my accountability partner was my 10-year-old daughter who would be like, Dad, did you do it today? Did you do it today? Like, what was your second workout, Dad? I don't think you did your second workout. And it was like every day for like 75 days. I'm like, trust me, I did it. I promise. And she would start like, I had to take pictures of myself doing it. So that way I could prove to her that I was doing it. Right. So it's just a different level of accountability, but you can definitely do that for your family if that's something you want to do. Okay. All right, guys. I think that's all. Sarah, is there any questions that kind of came up while I was chatting?
What did you find to be your biggest challenge?
Ooh, biggest challenge? It's for me, it's always food. It's always food. So I can work out twice a day. I can read. I mean, I read more than 10 pages every single day. When I look at the other stuff, drinking water is not a big problem for me. I mean, it took me like a week just to get used to it. And then it was normal. The photos was kind of like a little bit weird because I'm not the typical type who takes photos every single day, but the nutrition was the hardest for me. And it was also where I saw the most significant improvements in my health, because like everybody can do 2 workouts a day. You just do 2 workouts a day. But for me, it's like, there's things in my life like that I naturally will want to buffer away from, right? There's natural things like when I'm bored, I immediately go over and I'm like, oh, hey, let me look for it. When I'm low energy, like let's say because of my Crohn's disease or something, I'm like, oh, I gotta fuel myself with something. And so that's a natural thing for me to go do that. And so it was a little bit more difficult, but I can tell you the one thing that really helped me a lot is I wouldn't buy anything that I know that I would not have, that I would struggle with eating or drinking if I had it in the house. So I just wouldn't do it. So, and I would tell my, my wife or kids like, hey, like I'm not going to get this specific thing. And most of like a couple of them that they wouldn't eat it anyway, but I just wanted to tell them so that way when they went, they weren't bringing it home. Right now for me, like probably the most difficult is I did this during, this was 2 years ago, it was during Halloween, my birthday, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. So that was probably the hardest part, but I can't tell you the amount of mental toughness that helped me develop, because here's the thing, you can have an incredible Christmas without eating foods that aren't good for you. You 100% can. And I proved it. Like I actually enjoyed eating that food, and it was not the food that everybody else was eating, but at the same time, I felt amazing. And everybody kept saying that, like, dude, your like energy is like off the charts, because when you're fueling your body with the right fuel and you're getting out and you're exercising, it has that transformative effect, right? And by that time, I had gone through Thanksgiving, I had gone through my birthday, right? Because everybody's like, oh, let's, I think it was my mom. She always brings me like cakes and cookies and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, thank you so much, Mom. I won't be eating them, but I'll be giving them to my kids. So it's one of those things. But really, like, that was the hardest piece for me, but it also was the one where I felt like I had the most control that I'd ever had in my life when it comes to my nutrition. And I knew at that point that I could do it, right? I could do it because Like, you know, Sarah, like the stories that we tell ourselves, right? My story was, I can do this. It's just food. I've got to stay true to the 75 hard. I said, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it. That's one thing for me. Like if I tell people I'm going to do it, especially my kids, I tell my kids I'm going to do it. Like what if in a moment where I'm like deciding if I should really do it, right? I'm going to think back to that. I'm going to be like, what am I teaching them? That things are getting hard and they should go the different direction. I'm like, no, I refuse to do that. And so for me, that's my superpower is I'm like, no, I told them I'm going to do it. So I'm going to follow through with it. So that's really what helped, but it was a little difficult. And what's funny is like, it wasn't difficult in the beginning or the end. It was difficult in the middle. The beginning, I'm on point. I'm like, I don't need any of that. Right. The middle was where I was like, oh man, it's like day 40. I still got like 35 more days of this. Right. And then at the end, it was funny because I was like, you know, the first day, day 76, I'm going out, I'm going to do this, buy this, buy this. I got to the end of 75, day 75. And I'm like, I don't even want to do that anymore. Like that's not something I want to do anymore. What's crazy though, is over time, some of those things kind of snuck back in where I'm like, this isn't such a big deal, which is why I wanted to do this again. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to really set myself up this time to do that as well. And I know that afterwards, when I get off, like, I'm not going to continue to do 2 45-minute workouts and all this kind of stuff. I'm going to make some adjustments afterwards, but there's going to be some things that I continue to do. Right. So really, really great question. Anything else? Okay. Awesome question. All right, guys. I do want to hear this. So when we get into the 75 Hard Squad room, when you get a chance to watch this video, once you decide, remember, it's all about making a decision to do the 75 hard. I want to hear when it is that you're going to start. All right. So if you make a decision that you're going to start, I want you to post in the group. I want you to let us know, hey, this is the day that I'm going to start. And if you need accountability partner, say, I'm looking for an accountability partner, whatever you need to say in that post, but I want you to put it out there, because once you decide and you put it out there, it's going to give you that power of getting yourself to show up and take those actions. All right. A decision is like one of those key pivotal moments that once you decide, yes, it's something you have to do every single day, but once you put it out there to the world, it gives you this pull called social cost that will get you to continue to show up. Okay. So guys, I look forward to seeing everybody inside the 75 Hard Squad room. I will be posting, of course, in there as well, because I will not ask you to do something that I will not do myself. But if you guys have any questions, you can either reach out via the app, via email, however you can get a hold of me. So that way I can help you guys out, especially if there's a moment of weakness where you're like, man, I don't know if I should continue. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if I can do this while X, Y, and Z is happening, or this event or that event, or I'm on vacation or whatever that is, because I will teach you that you 100% can. And as a matter of fact, it'll make that thing even better because you're going to be open to the possibilities when you come. Okay. All right, guys, I appreciate you so much. Sarah, it's great to have you on the call. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you guys real soon. All right. Bye.